This the year that UT ends a 4-game losing streak?
This year's game has a reigning Heisman Trophy winner, plus possibly 2 future winners. We'll hear from all 3.
Stoney Clark made one of the biggest plays in shootout history. We catch up with the defensive poet.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I made the stop and we beat OU.
Throughout the last century of football, the game has featured 178 All-Americans and countless future NFL stars. We unveil our all-time team. Sit back and get ready for the SBC Red River Shootout Special. It starts now.
Welcome into the Cotton Bowl and the State Fair of Texas. John Radigan, Dana Larson with you. They are putting the finishing touches on the field here at the Cotton Bowl, and we are putting the finishing touches on the hype for the SBC Red River Shootout.
Both teams, Texas and Oklahoma, 4-0 coming into this game. OU ranked number 2 in the country, Texas number 5. It is the 3rd time in the last 4 years that both teams have been in the top 5 coming into this game. It should be a great matchup. And for more, our photojournalist Chris Fitzpatrick gives us more on the big game.
To me, college football is like my French wife, eternally young, effervescent, never aging, but evolving into something different.
Some 76,000 folks watching Oklahoma and Texas fight it out for number 1. Texas just inches away from the Oklahoma goal line. It was Nelson who made the big play. Wouldn't be surprised to see him get the ball. He's got it on a sweep right. Oklahoma stringing him up. They got him! They got him at the 3-yard line.
It's come to this. 4th and goal at the 3. Double wide receivers to the right. Lone setback is Gerald Moore.
On the 3-yard line. McGee back to pass. Hands him off on it. Reverse. With the ball is
He's hit at the 1. He did not get in. Texas comes up with a huge play. Stoney Clark might have made the tackle of the year for the Longhorns.
This is the biggest game of the year.
I don't think I can explain it with words.
More than anything, you kind of get tired of waiting for it.
People talk about it being a big game. It's been a big game for 110 years.
The history of the game and the types of games that have happened there, the coaching legends and Bud Wilkerson and Darryl Royal.
Playing the Texas game of 1950, yes. Just going through the tunnel and walking out on the field is the most goosebump moment of my life.
Behind him, the pass is fired. Oh! I think he's the best football player in America.
And he's in the end zone. Touchdown, Texas.
I mean, you better be ready to play and don't be standing around the pile counting your money because you get knocked in the nickel bleachers. That Golden Hat's made a lot of trips between Austin and Norman.
It's really strange how it's gone in strings.
But I've been on both sides of this. You know, we've won 5 in a row. I've lost 3 in a row. I know the pressure that builds. I know the pressure builds to the other side. You know, so I've been where Mac's been.
Overall, we've been about the same, but they've definitely taken the advantage over us in the last 4. 2 of the 4 we lose in the 4th quarter. 2 others we didn't play well, and they just beat us to death.
Handoff goes to Hodges Mitchell. Boom! Boy, they just clobbered him.
Cross right to Benson. Cuts it back up the middle. He's in trouble now. Turns it outside. Drop for a loss.
Under fire, mock throws. Intercepted by Strait. He bubbled the ball up in the air.
When adversity happens in the game, you automatically start thinking about, yo, here it goes again.
White going to the corner. Wide open for Peoples. Touchdown.
Oh, you had such a swagger that, you know, if they smell blood, they're going to attack. And, you know.
Gets to the 10, cuts outside, left to the 5, touchdown! 25-30, 25-20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Oklahoma! Resounding, staggering, 60 65-13 victory over the Texas Longhorns.
Just forget about that, wipe all that out, because, you know, obviously we're not the same team as we were that lost to them 4 times in a row.
I just know that they're really good and we're ready to change the streak.
Better not get too chesty because it's not going to last forever.
Wow, does that get you ready for the game or what? Great stuff. Thank you very much, Chris Fitzpatrick. And now we're almost ready for kickoff.
The Sooners come into this year's game fresh off a 28-13 win over Texas Tech. Oklahoma hasn't really been challenged so far this season, but they know in spite of UT's recent history in Dallas, the Horns will be their first big test.
The first thing we got to do is just establish our plan. You know, whether it's run or pass, or both. You know, we got to be physical up front, and we got to be physical for 4 quarters.
Vincent Young, whether he's scrambling or something, he's gonna make a big play. He's gonna scramble around, and we, as secondary, we got to make sure we stay back and not really focus in on what he's doing up there, and let the D-line and the linebackers make plays on him.
As for the Longhorns, they know what's at stake. Beat the Sooners in the Cotton Bowl Saturday, and they put themselves in position to possibly win the national title. But they've known that for the past 4 years. So what makes us think this year's outcome will be different?
This is a different team. It's a team that hasn't played OU, hasn't lost OU. It's a different offense, a different defense. I think, again, Drew, the constant is me. You know, I'm the one that hasn't done as well in this game.
We really want to go in this game thinking that, hey, we're a new team. Especially as a defense, we have a new coordinator. We have new faces on the defense. Guys that haven't even played in the game yet, haven't even stepped on the field against OU. And Coach Robinson, I've been in more OU games than Coach Robinson has.
Mack Brown and his players know exactly what is at stake. Of course, so do Bob Stoops and his players, as they've proven over the last 4 years.
All right, we are just getting started here at the Cotton Bowl. Don't go anywhere. Much more coming up. Stick around.
When the SBC Red River Shootout preview continues, we'll visit with Heisman Trophy winner Jason White and find out how college football's top honor has changed his life. Our hardcore football guys give us the playbook for a Texas win. And we start the debate. Who are the best players to ever play in the annual shootout? We announce our all Red River team. The 2004 SBC Red River Shootout Preview Show is brought to you by SBC. SBC is proud to be a big part of Big 12 football and title sponsor of the SBC Red River Shootout. Best of luck to both teams. By Chevrolet. Chevrolet, an American revolution. By State Farm. See a Texas State Farm agent providing insurance and financial services. By Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And by Rotel. Stir it up with a spicy kick of Rotel queso.
There is Jason White from Oklahoma.
And what a 10 months it has been for Jason White since he won that prestigious award. Jason White will now be the only reigning Heisman Trophy winning quarterback to have ever played in the SBC Red River Shootout.
Jason White now trying to accomplish something that only one other man has, and that is to win back-to-back Heisman trophies. A good performance in the game on this field could go a long way in leading him to another Heisman Trophy. Now Rick Renner takes a look at how life has changed for the Heisman Trophy winning Jason White.
Jason White looks right, plenty of time, lobs it for the end zone. Clayton catches it, touchdown Oklahoma. Beautiful thrown ball by Jason White.
From a tiny plains town of Tuttle, Oklahoma, Jason White rose to the greatest individual achievement in collegiate sports.
I think you learn a lot about not only communicating with people, but a lot about yourself in a small town. You can dream big in a small town, but there's very few that make it, come true. The biggest thing for me coming from a small town was learning how to work hard for everything.
White, option play right. White falls down.
It may have hurt his knee.
And he may have hurt he's hurt.
Imagine overcoming 5 knee surgeries, major ACL reconstruction on both knees.
It seems like every year I always hear about another knee scope job. I mean, is it just kind of like changing the tires and rotating the tires for you?
Yeah, it's kind of a tune-up for me after the season. After the season last year, I got it cleaned up again, and it's not even a big deal anymore.
Jason White's in a lot of pain out there, guys. This doesn't look good.
2 medical red shirts mean 6 years of eligibility.
We laugh sometimes. We'll be out stretching, and I'll say, Jason, you remember Stalker McDougal or somebody back in our first year? He goes, Coach, remember, I've been here as long as you. And I said, you're right.
You've been here so long, you can actually remember the last time OU lost to Texas.
Yeah, that was my true freshman year. It's fun to watch the program get turned around. And it seemed like that year it started to turn around, and then the next year you could see a complete U-turn. I mean, it went from the bottom of the pack to the top of the pack, and it's been exciting.
Shotgun snap, play fake, back to pass White. He's going to waft it to the end zone. Peoples wide open, caught, touchdown Sooners.
4 straight years of Oklahoma dominance in the biggest rival game of the year. And this will be Jason's last hurrah.
I'll never forget the Red River rivalry just because I'm an Oklahoma kid. I know what it's about, and I know it's about, the pride of the fans and the bragging rights, but not only that, it's a step towards our goals as a team. We're going to give it all we got. It's the last one, the last Red River shootout we're going to be in. So I know as a team we're going to give it all we got.
And the winner is Jason White, Oklahoma.
You don't seem like you really cared that much about that individual award.
I think the biggest thing with that is I think it's more of a team award than anything. You could probably look back at all the past winners, and if they didn't have good teammates around them, they probably wouldn't have won it.
4 days after winning the Heisman, Jason fought through a concussion and a sprained throwing hand in losing to Kansas State in the Big 12 championship. Then battled through a broken toe in the BCS title game against LSU. Many wondered what happened to the Heisman winner.
I don't believe at all he looks like it as a curse, but I don't believe either that that's what he was really after. He's really after championships. So I think he's really pretty indifferent about the Heisman Trophy and more adamant about winning a championship is what he really wants.
Jason isn't the first Sooner to win the Heisman his junior year. 25 years ago, Billy Sims tried to defend his Heisman. Both Billy and Barry Switzer were at Jason's Heisman ceremony last year.
I was hollering boomer, boomer. You thought I had wanted it. He left me hanging there for a second, then he realized, oh yeah, Sooner. I was just so happy for Jason because of the way he won it. The fact coming into last season, nobody in their wildest dream would ever thought he'd win the Heisman Trophy. They were just hoping he stayed healthy.
Well, I think that you have to perform at a certain level. Your expectations and what people expect you to be are greater on yourself and for the public. I think it's difficult for a quarterback when you change the playbook for him.
And Barry's right. The Sooners are now a throwback to Barry's days. They run the ball more, so Jason's numbers will not compare to last year. The Heisman has been a life-changing experience. That and raising a daughter.
Everything means so much more now. I have to do school, have to do football, have to come home, help out with the baby. And, it's been tough, but it's definitely been an experience that, I'm glad I've had.
Because people don't think of the Heisman Trophy winner changing diapers.
No, I'm sure they don't, but that's definitely one thing I don't like to do.
For your SBC Red River Shootout preview, I'm Rick Renner.
Rick, thank you very much. Our SBC Connection stats tell us that Jason White is going to have to do some work to equal last season's performance. His passing attempts are down by 34%. The team's rushing attempts are up by 23%. In other words, it's a more balanced offense, and White isn't needed to carry the load as much as last year.
As Rick mentioned, it is Jason White, who is the only Oklahoma player who's been around long enough to remember losing to Texas. For the Longhorns, it's tight end Bo Scaife, who remembers getting a win over Oklahoma.
Lots more coming up as we get you ready for the SBC Red River Shootout. Up next, we hear from Cedric Benson and Adrian Peterson, the great running backs in this game, and our hardcore football crew will tell us how UT can win the game. That and much more.
Later on the SBC Red River Shootout preview, he made one of the most famous plays in Texas OU history. We catch up with the poet of defense, former UT defensive lineman Stoney Clark.
opportunity for us to showcase all the products and services that SBC now offers. You can come in here and you can make long distance and local phone calls. You can get on the internet, browse the internet, and do online gaming. We have that capability here. SBC now offers a dish product as well, so you can watch football games with the SBC dish product. You can download ringtones for your singular phone. It's just a great opportunity for us to showcase our products.
Bill, thank you very much for all that you and SBC do for this great football classic. Welcome back to the show. We are in the famed tunnel of the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, and one of the neat things about this tunnel is that the locker rooms are on either side. Very often, both teams come out in the tunnel at the same time, walking shoulder to shoulder, making for a very intense walk down onto the field. Well, one of the big questions about this game is, what does UT need to do on offense to win it? And for more on that, we send it back to the studio and join our hardcore football crew.
All right, thanks, John and Dana. You know, it hasn't happened the last 4 times they've met, but we're going to show you how Texas will win this game.
That's wrong.
Let's start with Greg Hill.
That's so true.
Well, in order for Texas to win this game, they're going to have to run their favorite play, the zone read, and they're also going to need some magic from Mr. Vince Young. Let's take a look at it. You'll see Vince Young giving the ball here to Cedric Benson, one of the key plays in the Arkansas game, and you saw that Cedric Benson made some magic happen. We'll see here and we'll illustrate it. Vince Young now is reading this guy right here. He's faking the ball off because he understands this guy's going to make the block. He's then going to give the ball to Cedric Benson and let Cedric Benson run. Run, son, run! This is something that he does very well, and this is a play that they run very well. Here we're going to see a design play for Vince Young. Vince Young now has a blocker who is going to block this guy, and there's some open field here. He takes off running, and he's very good at doing this also. And now Vince Young becomes the X factor. Look at the young man work his magic. 3 defenders, get out of this. Get the ball to Cedric Benson, and Cedric Benson goes ahead and runs for the touchdown. Vince Young is one of those guys that has that magic. He's going to have this magic and play his best game in order to beat OU, guys.
I agree with Greg. When you look at the University of Texas offense, look, they're going to have to do some non-traditional things to line up and beat this OU football team. And one of those things is take the handcuffs off quarterback Vince Young. They're trying to turn him into a quarterback, to a natural drop-back passer, hitting the wide receivers. This guy is one of the most athletic quarterbacks and best athletes in the country. I think if Texas lines up and plays McFootball, meaning a standard offense that they've lined up with in the last 4 years, they don't have a chance. If they take the handcuffs off, allow themselves to be as athletic they are, they can win that game.
Well, I agree. You can't come in this game and just play stand-up football or traditional football. You have to definitely roll the dice every now and then. That's what Bob Stoops has been so successful at doing in this ball game and other big games as well. And I disagree with Greg. Not only does Vince Young have to play a big ball game or a perfect game, that whole team, from special teams to the kicker to the centers, everyone on that football team has to be perfect, including the coaches.
You know, Vince Young has been pretty good the first 4 games of the year, but this is a different story going up against this Oklahoma defense. There's a lot of pressure on Vince Young in this game.
Well, there's a lot of pressure on the entire football team. They've had it handed to them the last 4 years, so they're going to come in here and they should be at ease, though. You're coming into a ball game where everyone expects you to lose, so you have nothing to lose other than losing OU again.
I agree with Brian, but look, if Texas comes into this ball game tight, the game's over. They need to come in with the attitude that we have nothing to lose. We're going to let it all hang out. Doesn't matter if we lose this ball game by 50 points. They need to get in. They need to run trick plays. They need to blitz. They need to take the handcuffs off that entire football team because they do have some of the best athletes in the country, but they come in tight every time they play this football game.
Well, you just got to look at the fact that Texas needs to perform. On every facet of the football game, they need to perform. And I think that that's something that we'll have to wait and see until the game, guys.
All right, that's how Texas will win this game. Later in the show, we'll show you how OU will win this game. Back to you, John and Dana.
Time now for our Rotel Who's Hot. We take a look at the running backs in this year's game. OU freshman running back Adrian Peterson is this week's SI cover boy. He's the main reason Jason White isn't having to carry the load. The freshman from Palestine is reminding Sooners fans of Marcus Dupree his freshman season. On the other side, UT senior Cedric Benson is at the top of several Heisman watch lists. Remember, Benson said a few weeks ago he'd rather win a Heisman than beat Oklahoma. He knows Saturday's game will go a long way in convincing voters.
If this is the only game that's going to prove to the nation how good I am, I mean, I guess I better go out and put it all out there then, huh? No, it's just looking forward to playing. Be a big game, and so just ready to play.
It's very exciting. You know, I went to the game last year and everything. It was a good atmosphere to be around. But, you know, the guys talk about it all the time, just the Red River Shootout, you know. Test against Oklahoma is just something we just, you know, they look forward to, you know, doing.
That leads to our State Farm stats, which tell us that Adrian Peterson is obviously off to a nice start as a freshman, perhaps the best freshman running back in the nation. Cedric Benson is the best running back in the nation, at least as far as that yards per game statistic goes, 186.5 yards per game. His team also leads the nation in yards per game with 353.5. With two great running backs like that and two teams that love to run the ball, maybe Damon Parker's record of 291 yards is in jeopardy this Saturday at the Cotton Bowl.
We do know one thing. Cedric Benson will be looking for his first really big game against Oklahoma in his last chance against his arch rival. All right, don't go anywhere. We are continuing. Much more coming up as we continue to make our way around the Cotton Bowl.
Coming up next on the SBC Red River Shootout Preview, some feel Cedric Benson isn't the only Heisman Trophy candidate on the Longhorns roster. We find out how tough love turned UT linebacker Derek Johnson into a monster on the field.
I'm saying it all the time, my little quiet Derek. And look at him, he's like Superman on the field.
We'll also unveil our all-time Red River Shootout team. Let the debate begin.
Memory of a recently deceased Longhorn legend, Texas premier running back wears number 37 in his honor in a lopsided 34-3 Texas victory.
Welcome back to the show. We have moved to section 26 of the Cotton Bowl, and if you look over those newly erected stands, you see parts of the skyline of the city of Dallas. That play you saw, one of the 20 that fans had a chance to vote on. You want to make sure you watch the game on Saturday as SBC helps us reveal the top 5 plays.
Now, 10 years ago today, October 8th, 1994, former UT defensive tackle Stoney Clark made one of the most memorable plays in this series' history. We wondered what the former football player slash poet was up to these days, so we sent Emily Jones to find out.
Texas comes up with a huge play. Stoney Clark might have made the tackle of the year for the Longhorns.
To former Longhorn Stoney Clark, it's simply the play. Exactly 10 years ago, October 8th, 1994, underdog Texas is up 17-10 with 43 seconds to go, but the Sooners are threatening. 4th and goal from the 3.
James Allen is a wingback to the right. McGee gives it to Allen on the reverse play. He's at the 5. He is hit at the 1. He did not get in.
I have a pretty good memory, so I remember the play really well.
So we put Stoney to the test with a little reenactment.
When the play first started and the quarterback hiked the ball, all the flow goes over here to the left. So all the linemen are going to the left. The running back pivots, makes a turn, and comes back behind the quarterback to take the handoff. And as I'm running out, Robert Reed is standing out here and actually turns the running back inside. And that's when I come from this direction and actually make the play here.
Was it a little harder than that?
I didn't feel it.
A little harder than that?
I really didn't feel it. I was so amped up at the time. I was just excited and glad to be able to get my body in front of the guy. It's been 10 years now, and I don't think that a week has gone by that I haven't spoke about the play.
After a brief stint in the NFL and a run in the dot-com boom, Clark is now selling cars in Bastrop and still writing poetry. Yes, poetry.
The poetry's been something that I've always done. I never wanted to be pigeonholed into being one thing. I never wanted to be just a football player.
For Stoney Clark, the play in the 1994 edition of the Red River Shootout was his original version of poetry in motion, or in this case, poetry stop in motion.
Roses are red, violets are blue. I made the stop and we beat OU.
For your SBC Red River Shootout preview, I'm Emily Jones.
That, of course, was one of the lower moments for Oklahoma coach Gary Gibbs, and, of course, one of the higher moments for John Mackovic at Texas.
How much pressure are on the coaches in a game like this? Well, Texas AD DeLost Odds has already said that Mack Brown's job is safe no matter what the outcome of this game is. But does that mean that beating your arch rival isn't at the top of a coach's list?
We gauge our season by championships. You know, and last year I think you would all say that I answered millions of questions on why we didn't win the championship, and I didn't hear one question about beating Texas last year. And that's what our seasons are governed by, and that's what we gauge whether we've had a successful year or not. And we talk a lot more about national championships and Big 12 championships that we've won than we do about beating anybody else, you know, not just Texas.
I remember when I started coaching at OU, I asked Coach Switzer who we had to beat, and he said Texas. And I said, well, what about Oklahoma State? And what about Nebraska? They're in our league. And he said, at Oklahoma, it's about Texas. So you need to understand that. If you beat Texas, you'll be fine. If you don't beat Texas, you're in trouble. I get here and I said, who do you need to beat? And Coach Royal said, everybody.
There is tremendous pressure involved. We know that. There's no need to deny that. It's important to win this football game. It's important for all the reasons.
Certainly these coaches are probably under more pressure in this game than any other regular season game they will play. All right, we are continuing on here. We are just halfway done on the Red River Shootout preview. I think John and I are a little bit hungry. We're going to go get a corny dog at the fair.
How about 2 corny dogs and a turkey leg?
Funnel
Can we
cake.
get funnel cakes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Still to come, he's quiet off the field, but Superman on it. We find out how Derek Johnson's mom helped make him the All-American linebacker he is. And our hardcore football guys return to tell us why the Sooners may once again have the...
Welcome back to the Cotton Bowl. We are standing in the newest part of the stadium. They have added bleachers to the corners of both end zones to expand capacity to over 75,000 for this weekend's game. All right, time to talk all-time team now. We assembled a panel of experts to come up with the all-time Texas OU team. 25 total, 11 on offense, 11 on defense, a kicker, a punter, and a coach.
Yeah, it's important to remember as you debate this team that it's not just who had the best career overall, but who had the best time in this game. The only thing more surprising than some of the names on this team are some of the names that were left off. So, let the debate begin. We will start in the defensive backfield, which is dominated by the Sooners. Roy Williams' game-clinching sack in the 2001 game made him a no-brainer for selection to the all-time team. Derek Strait was a near-unanimous choice, too. Not only did he go 4-0 against the huge rival, but he led the secondary that shut down the likes of Roy Williams, B.J. Johnson, and Sloan Thomas, one of the most talented receiving corps in UT history. Ricky Dixon never lost to Texas either. He was 3-0-1 from 84 to 87 and had 11 tackles plus 3 interceptions. And yes, there is a Longhorn on the secondary team, too. Jerry Gray was a consensus All-American in 83 and 84, and his teams were 2-1-1 against OU. At linebacker, we start with the last one to be named an All-American at Texas. Our experts agree that Tommy Nobis is a must in the middle. He led number 2 UT over top-ranked OU in 1962. He might not like it, but he's surrounded by Sooners. Jerry Tubbs, who had 3 interceptions against the Longhorns in 1955, and Rod Schote in only 3 cracks at the Longhorns. This guy had 41 tackles, 23 in one game. He also contributed a game-clinching fumble recovery in 1974. Defensive line is split right down the middle, 2 from Texas and 2 from OU. You can make a case for both Selmans. We picked Dewey, who had 30 tackles in this game from 72 to 75. Reggie Kinlaw wasn't far behind. He had 29 tackles and 2 sacks. Also in the defensive trenches are 2 Longhorns, Steve McMichael, who went on to greatness in the NFL, and Scott Appleton, who had 18 tackles in the 1963 game on his way to the national title. Our punter played so long ago that he was also a fullback. Back in 1910, the field was 110 yards long, and he boomed one 107 yards. OU won that game 3-0 in Austin. We selected 5 offensive linemen. Perhaps we have good old days syndrome, but 4 of the 5 are from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Anthony Phillips is the most recent lineman. He was 4-0 between 85 and 88. Our wide receivers are old school too. Cotton Spire, who had 8 catches for 160 yards in 69, and Tinker Owens, who caught 6 for 192 yards and 2 touchdowns on a wishbone team. The tight end, Keith Jackson. Any questions? And now to the backfield, which is a sure cause of controversy. At running back, we have Earl Campbell. No all-time team would be complete without him. And Quentin Griffin. 9 touchdowns for him and 330 yards rushing in 3 games. Remember, he had 6 touchdowns in 1 game. And then there is the only quarterback on either side of this storied rivalry to go 4-0. He is our all-time quarterback. He is Peter Gardier. The kicker is Russell Erksleben, who had field goals of 64 and 58 yards, plus a 69-yard punt in UT's 77 13-6 win. Finally, the coach. Barry Switzer had a .625 winning percentage against Texas. So with apologies to Darrell Royal and Bud Wilkinson and even Bob Stoops, Switzer is the coach of the all-time team. We're sure that will inspire debate, even arguments. It has in our offices. Oklahoma fans saying, what about Leroy Selman? We know he got great consideration.
And UT fans going, how about Ricky Williams? Yes, he certainly had several great games, but not everybody could make it. All right, we are continuing on now. Don't go anywhere. Much more when we come back. Stay with us.
When we return, the linebacking core for both teams will be on display Saturday at the Cotton Bowl. The Longhorns have All-American Derek Johnson, while the Sooners continue to churn out future NFL stars. That and much more next. 1950, down 13-7 late in the 4th quarter. Sooners Frankie Anderson and Dean Smith swarmed Texas punter Billy Porter at the Longhorn 11-yard line. And winner of the 1952 Heisman Trophy, Billy Vessels scores 2 plays later for a 14-13 OU win.
Welcome back to the SBC Red River Shootout Preview Show. John Radigan and Dana Larson with you. We've talked a lot about some of the offensive stars of this game, the Jason Whites, the running backs for both teams. But Dana, there's an awfully good linebacker who some even say might have an outside shot at the Heisman in this game.
Yes, indeed. Well, there have been family members on both sidelines of this game before. That will be the case with Derek Johnson of UT and John Williams, his cousin, who plays for Oklahoma. It's fitting there will be a family feud involved in this rivalry because for DJ, it's always all about the family. Derek Johnson is one of the toughest, hardest-hitting linebackers in college football.
On the delay, nothing doing. Look at Derek Johnson.
A highlight reel of aggression, but his passion for violent play doesn't exactly fit his personality.
A lot of people ask me that, what goes on in your head while you're on the field, because out the field it seems like you're pretty silly, laid-back type of guy, but on the field it's more business to me.
When you watch him on the football field and he is out there like a madman, what goes through a mom's mind?
It's unbelievable to know. I said, here, I'm saying it all the time, my little quiet Derek. And look at him, he's like Superman on the field.
Derek Johnson, number 11, we call him Superman.
Beverly Johnson is often amazed by her son, but in reality, it is her passion as a parent and teacher that transformed her quiet little Derek into the rugged linebacker he is today.
I'm very known for going outside and playing with my kids. Even as they were growing up, I played basketball with them, I played football with them. I'm a football mom, I'm a sports mom.
Everybody knows about the little story about when I cried to not go to Pee Wee practice. My mom kept telling me, you better get out of here, get to practice, stop acting like a sissy.
Derek Johnson with the interception.
I really appreciate what she's done for my football career as far as being tough and being strict.
Touchdown, Texas.
With tough love and a watchful eye, this teacher of 33 years also educated her children on life. Stay busy and stay out of trouble.
You guys, you have a focus. Your friends are out there laughing, but they're all getting in trouble. And believe it or not, all of their friends are either in jail, they're dead, or they're selling drugs.
That cold reality was never lost on Derek or his 3 siblings. Plus, it wasn't just their mom they had to answer to.
How many aunts and uncles do you have?
I have 4 aunties and 16 uncles.
You're kidding.
21 kids. My grandma has 21 kids.
They're not only a big family, they're also a football family. At least 7 relatives have played for big-time college programs. Several, including Derek's brother Dwight, have played in the NFL.
Boy, the sack as Kingsbury was waiting. Derek Johnson, another time he gets in.
DJ's time will come. But first, this tough guy's got a few more big hits to make and hopes they'll help lead to a win against UT's toughest opponent.
As far as adversity, you have to deal with adversity, and you have to have a leader in that huddle that you can look at and say, you know, he's ready, I'm ready, let's go. Because knowing Derek Johnson is not going to shy out.
More on Derek Johnson now. A few things you may not know. He never misses American Idol. Nobody believes he listens to church music, and his favorite childhood song is Beat It by Michael Jackson. He has a pet, a dog named Champ, and his mom also mentioned, you may not believe, he's afraid of cats and rats. One other note, of his 21 aunts and uncles, 20 of them graduated from college, and all 3 of his older siblings went to school and got their degrees.
Perhaps the most amazing stat is that his grandmother had 21 children. Good for her, and what a great family. Oklahoma has a great linebacking tradition, and this senior Lance Mitchell and sophomore Rufus Alexander are carrying on where Rocky Kalmus and Teddy Lehman left off. Mitchell has bounced back nicely from knee surgery, averaging 6 tackles per game, while Alexander has become a big fan favorite with his huge hits. Both have combined to hold opponents to 77 yards rushing per game.
The Sooners have owned the Longhorns the last 4 years. Find out next if our hardcore guys think the trend will continue.
Welcome back to the SBC Red River Shootout preview. We are now down on the field. This is the visitors' sideline, home of the Texas Longhorns on Saturday, and this is the view Mac Brown will have of the game.
Earlier in the show, our hardcore football crew told you how UT can win the game. Now it's time for them to take the other side of the ball.
All right, thanks, John and Dana. Earlier in the show, we showed you how Texas will win this game. Now we're going to show you how OU will win this game. And here to clearly illustrate it is Brian Jones.
Yes, Texas will win this ball game if they're able to run the ball and block OU's front 4. They haven't been able to do that in the past. We're going to show you a couple plays here where OU's been able to penetrate. Watch this penetration right here by the defensive end. He comes up. The ball carrier is going to have to redirect. Wants to go here to his right. He's going to have to redirect and come to his left. Actually, he's not going to get any yards. He's going to lose yardage on the play. Cedric Benson goes out for no gain by Jonathan Jackson. On the next play, you're going to see penetration once again from these guys getting upfield. They're knocking blockers back into the backfield. Cedric Benson has to redirect once again because of all the penetration. You want to stop the zone blocking scheme, get penetration. OU does a great job of getting penetration, and you see a number of guys there on the ball. Now Texas on here is going to roll out Vince Young and pass, but you got a problem. All the receivers are going to be covered. Tight end is covered. Wide receivers covered. Other wide receivers covered. All these guys are covered down the field. Oklahoma does a good job of putting pressure on Vince Young, and he forces the ball here. He should never have thrown this pass. He forces it, gets a pick. OU has the ball, and they're going to score on this drive. So Texas has to block the front 4 of Oklahoma. If they don't do that, Oklahoma's going to have a field day because they're only bringing 4 guys on their pass rush.
Easier said than done with the speed of that Oklahoma defense.
Well, Oklahoma is one of the most athletic football teams top to bottom in the country. But look, another thing that we need to look at is their back 7. Oklahoma's back 7 is probably the most talented in the country. So if Oklahoma is successful at getting penetration of that backfield with only a 3 or 4 man rush, turn out the lights, baby. That game's over.
You know, the speed of that Oklahoma defense has got to be really tough on a quarterback like Vince Young, though, too.
Well, it's really tough because you have to look at the fact that OU now is without Dusty Dvorak, who has been dismissed from the team. This is going to be one of the games where he will be sorely missed, but they still will be able to take care of their job up front and apply pressure and win.
You know, the last several years, has it just been simply a question of Oklahoma winning the line of scrimmage on defense, you think, Brian?
every year in this ball game, it's about the guys up front. It's about winning in the ditches, as those old ball coaches used to call it. You got to win in the ditches. You have to win the line of scrimmage. If those 3 plays we took a look at, Oklahoma was always playing on Texas's side of the ball. That's the key to this football game.
I agree with Brian, but also look at the turnovers and the way that the team responded who actually lost their turnover. I mean, Texas could have won this game a couple of different times, but OU came in and they really created some big plays. They created turnovers, and Texas just got down on itself. So I think it also has to do with turnovers, but how a team responds to adversity in such a big game.
And the reason for that interception we just showed you is because the defenders were on Texas's side of the ball, and that helped cause the turnover.
All right, prediction time. We've shown you how Texas will win, how Oklahoma will win. Now, who will win the game? Let's start with Greg Hill.
OU.
OU big. All right, that puts the pressure on the Longhorn down there.
Give it to us.
At some point, as a human being, you have to be tired, sick and tired of getting your butt kicked, getting your lunch money taken. You got to be tired. Texas wins this ball game.
All right, so Mac Brown will have Brian Jones deliver the pregame speech in the locker room to the Longhorns.
You don't have to say anything. Son, go out there and make them wish they were dead.
All right, back to you, John and Dana.
All right, guys, thanks very much.
Coming up, one of our favorite parts of the show, prediction time.
To be a big part of Big 12 football and title sponsor of the SBC Red River Shootout. Best of luck to both teams. By Chevrolet. Chevrolet, an American revolution. By State Farm. See a Texas State Farm agent providing insurance and financial services. By Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A. We didn't invent the chicken, just the chicken sandwich. And by Rotel. Stir it up with a spicy kick of Rotel queso. You can Rotel the difference.
Oh, it should be a great game. I expect both teams to go up and down the field pretty easily, and I believe in Vince Young, so I got to go with Texas 30-27.
To my imagination, or did you pick Texas last year too?
No, it's not your imagination. And the year before that, and the year before that.
Oklahoma 31-17. I think it's a good game. Texas is obviously better. Oklahoma's not quite as good defensively as they've been, but that's all relative.
Well, I think about 28-17 OU. I think the offense is better. White's more mobile. That's obvious. Peterson adds a dimension. They really are better, and they got 10 seniors coming back. I mean, give me a break.
I think it's going to be Oklahoma 30, Texas 20. It's a close game going into the fourth quarter.
31-28 Texas. I think the Longhorns are going to be able to pound the football, and assuming they stay away from turnovers and are able to run successfully against Oklahoma, they're going to win the game. This is going to be a game with a lot of points.
No prediction. I really like both staffs. I really like both programs. I'd like to find a way for both of them to win, but I know that can't work.
Well, the hour has come to a close. We certainly have enjoyed bringing you the preview. We hope you've enjoyed it as well. It is time now for our predictions, and I have to say, I do think the game will not be like last year's in that it will be a close game, but the result should be the same. OU wins.
I basically agree. A much closer game this year, but until Texas proves otherwise, I believe OU is the better team, at least on the second Saturday in October. Thanks so much for joining us for this preview of the SBC Red River Shootout. Don't forget to check us out every night on your Busch Light Southwest Sports Report. So long, everybody.